Chapter 2675. Yu Qiming's expression immediately improved. He was about to open his mouth and say a few harsh words. Suddenly, he remembered that he seemed to have caused great trouble for the 7 Imperial School. If they thought about it in the future, they probably wouldn't have a good time either. Thus, he shut his mouth decisively. Keeping a low profile was more important than anything else. Yuki's face was filled with joy. He recognized these people who had come to help. None of them were simple. They were all allies of the 7 Imperial School. They were almost all top cultivators in the spiritual world. Chen Zhao's gaze hardened. Since you're here, don't leave. Madman, who do you think you are? Quickly surrender, and I'll leave your corpse intact. You're young, but you talk big. A few older cultivators used their status and seniority, as if they thought that they could make Chen Zhao submit with a few words. But I might not leave your corpses intact. Chen Zhao's eyes were cold. How dare you? How dare you? All of them were filled with murderous intent. They didn't take Chen Zhao seriously at all. It was as if Chen Zhao didn't take them seriously at all. After the verbal exchange was over, it was time for the real fight. Every cultivator used their special skills. All sorts of beautiful spells were thrown at Chen Zhao. However, most of these spells disappeared within a few meters of Chen Zhao. Only a few landed on Chen Zhao. After a round of attacks, everyone was shocked to find that the field was riddled with holes. But Chen Zhao was unharmed. Chen Zhao raised a hand. Tens of thousands of small black balls appeared around him. It's my turn, right? The expressions of the people from the 7 Imperial School changed drastically. Quick, defend. His spells are powerful. Don't be careless. In an instant, countless small black balls shot out. The power of each little black ball was exceptionally shocking. Each of the small black balls had the power of several to dozens of grenades. Tens of thousands of black balls exploded at the same time. It was like an arsenal exploding. Moreover, their weight and flying speed had already been determined. Even if they were not released, they would still produce extremely terrifying destructive power. The entire 7 Imperial School was already in pieces. Compared to the destruction of the mountain gate, what really made people despair was the people in the 7 Imperial School. Apart from Yuki, who was in front of Chen Zhao, no one else had a corpse left. At the very least, Yuki was the only one left in the 7 Imperial School. As for those who came to help, not a single one of them was alive. Can't even last one round. Trash. Chen Zhao glanced around. Suddenly, a figure appeared behind him. Devil, I'll kill you. She was a sword-wielding woman who was extremely skilled. Just when Chen Zhao thought that there would be no survivors, the woman was actually unharmed. You can live for now. But before I find that person, it doesn't mean you're safe. Yuki and Yu Qiming wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Hello, who's this? Gao Kun picked up the phone and looked at the unfamiliar caller ID. He didn't know that when he picked up the phone, a few pairs of eyes were staring at him. Just then, there was a car horn in the distance, but there was also a car horn on the other side of the phone. Instantly, Gao Kun's expression changed drastically. The person on the phone was nearby. Gao Kun immediately hung up and turned to cross the road. Gao Kun's brain spun rapidly. The person might still be following him. He had to think of a way to get rid of him. After thinking for a while, Gao Kun finally decided to go to the subway. There was a lot of traffic there. It was most likely to get rid of him. Gao Kun immediately went to the subway. After passing through the crowd, he got on a random train. Then, he got off at a random stop and got on another train. After standing up and down a few times in this manner, Lin Fan's expression changed. Only then did Gao Kun get out of the subway. However, Gao Kun didn't relax. He went to a nearby mall and walked around. After making sure that he got rid of the person following him, he took a taxi home. Chapter 2676. Gao Kun had always been single. He always went in and out alone. After all, his line of work was a high-risk one. His family was a burden to him. The moment Gao Kun opened the door, a hand suddenly grabbed the back of his neck from behind and pressed him into the room. Who? Gao Kun wasn't a spiritualist, but he was quite skilled. If he caught someone off guard, even a spiritualist could be killed by him. Before this, he had such a battle record. He lifted his heel and kicked backward. He felt his heel kick the person's chest. However, the person didn't move at all. Gao Kun, the hitman's contact? I don't know what you're talking about. Gao Kun clenched his teeth and refused to admit it. However, his answer was met with more strength from the hand squeezing his neck. In the movies, people like you would rather die than submit. I wonder if you're the same. Gao Kun couldn't turn his head, but he could feel the owner of the hand approaching him. He smelled blood on the person. It was very, very heavy. The person had definitely killed someone before, and not long ago at that. What do you want? Gao Kun really didn't plan on dying for worldly possessions. Do you know Emohan? I know him. He's top 3 on the hitman list. Do you have his contact number? How can I have Emohan's contact number? I'm just a low-level contact. So you're useless to me? Wait, I don't have Emohan's contact number, but I know a high-level contact. I hope it won't be too complicated. If I go around in circles like you, I'll have a headache. No, I know where he lives. Good. Let's start now. Can you let go of me? Gao Kun finally saw Chen Zhao's face clearly. Hey Mr. Deng, I have a bottle of good wine. Oh, where's it from? People buried it in the northeast before the founding of the People's Republic. It was dug up last year, and I spent 300,000 at an auction to get it. But it's boring to drink alone. How about it? Do you want to come to my place or your place? Come to my house. I'm the only one here. Alright, prepare some dishes to go with the wine. I like spicy food, so prepare some spicy dishes. I'll bring the wine over now. After Deng Xianying hung up the phone, his face couldn't help but change. He and Gao Kun had already made a secret agreement. If they were drinking, they would not go to each other's house. If the other party said that they were going to his house, then something must have happened. And the so-called dishes to go with the wine were, of course, for him to prepare. As for spicy, it meant that the target was tricky, and he needed to be fully prepared. Deng Xianying immediately picked up the phone again. Hello old Meng, something happened at home. Come over. Not long after, Deng Xianying's contractor arrived. Old Meng, real name Meng Qi, nickname, Bengal Tiger. He was the top assassin under Deng Xianying. After all, he'd just swallowed a 1,000-year-old dragon. Chen Zhao also changed his clothes. Relaxed, he sat before the 3 of them. Go out and buy some breakfast. Chen Zhao looked at Gao Kun. The more the better. Huh. Gao Kun was shocked, not understanding Chen Zhao's intentions. If you can't even buy breakfast, then you're too worthless. Gao Kun ran out, as if she was running for her life. Chen Zhao looked at Deng Xianying. Do you need me to explain my intentions again? Deng Xianying's face was pale. If I help you contact Emohan, can you let me go? That depends on how much you can help me contact him. Deng Xianying swallowed. I'll try my best to find out where he is. If you can help me find out where he is, then you'll be spared. Elder Meng's eyes flashed as he looked at Chen Zhao. Can I ask, what's the situation on North Island now? Most of the people and demons on the island are dead, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Chapter 2682. The goatee's expression was extremely dark. But he didn't make a move. After all, he had suffered at Chen Zhao's hands a few days ago. Even Zhang Ding was pressed to the ground by Chen Zhao. The goatee took out a talisman and threw it into the sky. The talisman flew into the sky as if it defied the laws of physics. When it reached 100 meters in the air, it turned into a beautiful firework with a boom. The 2 young Taoist priests saw the goatee take out an emergency talisman and immediately backed away from Chen Zhao. They looked at Chen Zhao and the person behind him warily. Soon, the inner sect disciples of the Maoshan sect arrived one after another. Hunyang, why did you use an emergency talisman? An older Taoist priest asked. Master, this person is a great enemy of our sect. We had a conflict a few days ago, and he humiliated the Maoshan sect and the Taoist lord in public, the goatee said selectively. The old Taoist frowned and turned to look at Chen Zhao, then at the man in black behind him. Sir, why have you trespassed on the Maoshan sect? If you can't explain yourself today, I'm afraid neither of us will have a good time. The white-clothed old Taoist's tone seemed to be impartial, but in reality, it was somewhat aggressive. I've never thought about a good time, Chen Zhao said coolly. If you can't give me an answer today, I'm afraid I'll have to end your lineage today. You! How dare you! The old Taoist was so angry that he glared at Chen Zhao. I'd like to see how you're going to end the lineage of Mao Shan. The old Taoist pulled out his sword. It was a long sword that seemed to be made of iron and wood. The blade was dark red, but it had a metallic sheen to it. Both sides of the blade were engraved with indecipherable runes. Heaven and earth are infinite, borrow the power of heaven and earth. Above is the sky, below is the thick earth. Follow me, pardon. The old Taoist used a killing move right off the bat, the Nine Heavens Thunder mantra. Boom! A bolt of purple lightning fell from the sky, but it didn't land on Chen Zhao's head. Instead, it was attracted by the old Taoist's long sword and landed on the tip. The old Taoist was unharmed, but the dark red longsword flashed with lightning. Chen Zhao suddenly moved and appeared before the old Taoist in a flash. The old Taoist widened his eyes and swung his sword at Chen Zhao's head. Chen Zhao raised his fist and swung it at the dark red sword. A terrifying electric current surged into his body. However, Chen Zhao was least afraid of thunder spells. Therefore, the fist's momentum did not stop at all, and the terrifying force directly penetrated the dark red longsword. The dark red longsword broke. At the same time, the force did not completely dissipate. It flowed along the sword and into the old Taoist's palm. Ah! The white-clothed old Taoist screamed miserably. His palms had already been destroyed by this power. Chapter 2683. Chen Zhao raised his right arm made of gold and punched at Qing Ping. However, when his fist was swung halfway, the power disappeared like a clay ox entering the sea. The next moment, Qing Ping spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Sir, what grudge do you have with the Mao Mountain? Qing Ping was shocked. Not only was the person in front of her also at the Shangqing stage, but his cultivation and combat ability far surpassed hers. She didn't understand where this monster in front of her had come from. Such cultivation and combat ability. She was heavily injured in just one round. Where is Zhang Ding? Chen Zhao asked calmly. Today, only one of them can live. Sir, do you know that bullying the weak is taboo? The major sects of Wuxia will not allow you to do this. The major sects of Wuxia? Ask Zhang Tianyi if he dares to say this to me. I'll leave it at that. If we fight to the death, you won't feel good even if I'm not your match. Qing Ping looked at Chen Zhao with a cold expression. I don't feel good? You should think about whether your Mao Mountain disciples deserve to die. Chen Zhao's eyes were full of murderous intent. He turned to the man in black. Emohan, do it. I'll kill anyone who dares to stop me. The man in black was once a top-level assassin, Emohan. Now he was forced to become Chen Zhao's dog. Emohan hesitated, then raised his sword again. Don't you dare! Taoist Qingping shouted. But this time, she couldn't stop Emohan. A black ball appeared in the sky. A terrifying black ball. It was a neutron star formed by Chen Zhao's small world. Even if Chen Zhao didn't use the meteor technique, he could destroy most of the Mao Mountain intersect. Qing Ping's eyes narrowed. Her cultivation was very high, so she could feel the terrifying and destructive power contained in the black ball. It wasn't very big, and it wasn't much different from the black ball from before. If she dared to do anything, Chen Zhao would release the neutron star. This also made her cautious. After all, Chen Zhao was alone, but her disciples and grand-disciples were here. So she couldn't take the risk. Emohan's sword fell, accompanied by the pitiful screams of a disciple. His arm was chopped off. Taoist Master Qing Ping glared angrily, and a terrifying aura began to erupt from his body. And this aura began to suppress Emohan's movements. Emohan's face, which was wrapped in black cloth, became extremely distorted. Not only did he feel Sage Qing Ping's aura, but he also felt Chen Zhao's pressure on him. Chen Zhao looked at the Yao ceiling pagoda with an evil smile. Sensing Chen Zhao's gaze, perfected Master Qing Ping cursed inwardly. Sir, no matter what grudges you have with my Mao Mountain, you've already brought great losses to my Mao Mountain. Why must you be so overbearing? Overbearing? Today, I'm just teaching you a lesson. Choosing an idiot as the sect leader will bring a lot of losses to the sect. This primordial flood bell was developed by Zhang Tianyi's team. In fact, Zhang Tianyi's team was just providing an idea. Zhang Tianyi had to take responsibility for the real technical problems. However, it had to be said that this defensive spell was indeed very powerful. At the very least, the fact that it could block Chen Zhao meant that the spell was indestructible. However, this spell was only suitable for Zhang Tianyi. No one else would be able to use it. Even Chen Zhao couldn't use it. This was because this spell required a large number of complex theories, and it also required a large amount of magic power as a backing. Chen Zhao only fulfilled one requirement: mana. After punching more than 10 times, Chen Zhao finally retreated 100 meters. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao, give up. You can't break my defense. My spell is undefeatable. It could be said that as long as this spell existed, Zhang Tianyi dared to take a 1,000,000-ton nuclear attack. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhang Tianyi. You know that there's no such thing as an unbreakable defense in this world. But can you surpass this threshold? Threshold? This was what Zhang Tianyi had learned from his team. This was a scientific term. Ordinary people would say it was an upper limit. Another black ball formed in Chen Zhao's hand. This time he didn't throw it out directly. Instead, he continued to strengthen it. Zhang Tianyi could instinctively sense danger. Looking at the black ball in Chen Zhao's hand, he had a bad feeling. Come, take this big move. If you don't die, I'll admit defeat. Chen Zhao didn't plan on stopping. The black ball's weight had already surpassed 2 billion tons. It was growing to an even more shocking number. Chen Zhao, that's enough. Zhang Tianyi strengthened the spell at the right time. I'm teaching you how to be a person. Those who meddle in other people's business are usually beaten to death first, Chen Zhao said maliciously. Seeing that the two were still in the mood to bicker, Qing Ping, who was far away, cursed inwardly. Can't you respect the victim? At the moment, Emo Han was conflicted. If he could escape alive this time, then he could at least brag to others. Just like the Bengal tiger, he dared to say that he and Celestial Master Zhang had fought face to face. If you want me to be number one in the world, you need to train for a few more years. I can't wait to beat number one in the world. You took too long to prepare this move. Are you constipated? I prepared it for you. Of course, it has to be big and strong. Qing Ping regretted asking Zhang Tianyi to help. You guys can fight. But can you not make such inappropriate jokes in such a serious situation? Have you considered our feelings? Of course, jokes were just jokes. When it came to battle, they were all serious. Since they couldn't kill the opponent, they would fight to the death. 20 minutes later, a terrifying neutron star was formed. Since all of her descendants had been killed by the black-robed sect, how could she, as a grandmother, continue to hold her position in the Maoshan sect? Moreover, Chen Zhao still hadn't figured out which faction perfected Qing Ping belonged to. The relationship network of the Maoshan sect was very messy anyway. So what? Chen Zhao still maintained his cautious attitude. He neither admitted nor denied it. However, he thought of his relationship with Li Qing. She had hit her grandmother. She wouldn't blame him, right? What's your relationship with Li Qing? Spiritual Master Qing Ping asked again. Chen Zhao didn't want to stay here anymore. He was about to turn around and leave, but Taoist Master Qing Ping was not having it. Suddenly, green threads shot out from the ground around Chen Zhao, wrapping around him. Chen Zhao frowned. This was the Qingyi sect's 3,000 feet green silk. Of course, this spell couldn't stop Chen Zhao. However, Chen Zhao didn't break free immediately. Instead, he turned around. Do you want to die? Where's Li Qing now? Facing Taoist Master Qing Ping's question, Chen Zhao could only reply coldly. Based on Chen Zhao's understanding of Li Qing, back then, she went abroad because her son and daughter-in-law were living abroad. Therefore, she also went abroad to live with her son and daughter-in-law. Later, her son and daughter-in-law died in a car accident. That was why she had nowhere to go. But now, the situation seemed to be different from what he had imagined. Or rather, Li Qing's reason for going abroad was far more complicated than she had said. Just then, Zhang Tianyi came to smooth things over. Chen Zhao, you haven't left yet? I wanted to leave, but she wouldn't let me. Looks like she wants to fight me, Chen Zhao said with a fierce expression. He has the orthodoxy of the Qingyi sect, Spiritual Master Qing Ping said, pointing at Chen Zhao. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao. He was a little surprised but not too shocked. In the past, when Zhang Tianyi had interacted with Chen Zhao, he had noticed that Chen Zhao's aura and methods had traces of Taoism. Most of Chen Zhao's moves were close-range combat or physical attacks. However, the aura would have certain characteristics. Of course, it was not surprising for Chen Zhao to know some Taoist techniques. After all, for Chen Zhao, if he really wanted to obtain an orthodoxy, it wouldn't be too much of a problem. Are you from the Qingyi sect or the Maoshan sect? Chen Zhao asked. The Qingyi sect is the Maoshan sect, but the Maoshan sect is not the Qingyi sect. Chen Zhao looked at Qing Ping coldly. This kind of ambiguous answer did not satisfy him. Either you get out of the way now, or I'll help Qingyi sect get rid of you. Qing Ping was not afraid of Chen Zhao's threat. Then what identity did you use to help Qingyi sect clean up the sect? Chen Zhao ignored Qing Ping and turned to look at Zhang Tianyi. Chapter 2687. Of course, Qingping Zhimren wouldn't let it end like this. But then Chen Zhao's eyes narrowed. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Emohan. I hate people who leave without saying goodbye. Emohan's expression froze. He clenched his teeth and looked at Chen Zhao. You've tortured me for so long. It's about time I paid you back. Are you really going to kill me? Paid you back? Remove the spell on me, and we'll call it a day. Chen Zhao looked at Emohan coldly. After fighting for so long, Chen Zhao felt hungry again. When Chen Zhao's eyes started to turn bloodshot, Emohan's heart went cold. He knew what the consequences of his spell would be. Emohan knew better than anyone else. No one had ever been like Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao had lasted for so long under the effects of the 9 viscera techniques. But the more Chen Zhao did, the more afraid Emohan became. He didn't know when Chen Zhao would lose control. Once the person under the effects of the 9 viscera techniques lost control, Emohan wouldn't even recognize his own family. He wouldn't dare to eat anything. Emohan was worried that he would become Chen Zhao's first unconventional food after he lost control. Chen Zhao. Zhang Tianyi appeared behind Chen Zhao again. What is it? How about this? Let us help you remove the spell, and we'll forget about your grudge with the Maoshan sect. What do you think? Zhang Tianyi asked. Do you know what spell I'm under? I don't. But I believe that with Qingping Zhimren's cultivation and understanding, most spells in the world shouldn't be a problem for us. Fine. If I can remove the spell, I won't trouble the Maoshan sect anymore. Then Zhang Ding. The Maoshan sect is the Maoshan sect, and Zhang Ding is Zhang Ding. At this time, Chen Zhao separated the two. He would not let Zhang Ding go. That's not what you said before. Oh, so you're saying that you want to kill Zhang Ding and step over the bodies of all the Maoshan sect members? Chen Zhao sneered at Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi's face twitched. If he dared to say yes, Chen Zhao would really kill him. By the way, what kind of spell did you cast? I can see that you're alive and kicking, full of energy and full of vigor. You won't be able to find another person in the world who is as spirited and energetic as you are. You even caused a ruckus at the Maoshan sect, and I don't see anything unusual about you. Zhang Tianyi really couldn't tell what was wrong with Chen Zhao. The spell I was hit with was all thanks to him. Chen Zhao pointed at Emohan and said. Zhang Tianyi narrowed his eyes and looked at Emohan. He really couldn't see anything special about Emohan. Originally, he had thought that someone who could trick Chen Zhao would at least have something special about them, even if they didn't have superhuman powers. But Emohan did not have this kind of special temperament. Basically, Zhang Tianyi saw through Emohan with a single glance. Just now, the speed of the elevator's descent was several times faster than normal. Zhang Ding looked back at Secretary Qi. Leave. Those two won't make things difficult for you. Ha! Zhang Ding suddenly realized that Chen Zhao and Emohan were already waiting for him downstairs. But why was Emohan kneeling on the ground and vomiting? I didn't expect Zhang Daojun to be so gentlemanly. Chen Zhao put his hands in his pockets and looked at Zhang Ding. At the same time he kicked Emohan. Get up and get to work. Didn't you want to settle the score with Zhang Daojun? Emohan, we've known each other for decades. Were you threatened by him? If we work together, he won't be able to take advantage of us. Zhang Ding saw that the situation was troublesome. Chen Zhao definitely couldn't beat him. so he could only turn to Emohan. Chapter 2689. Even a blind man could tell that he was being coerced. But if he had a choice, why would he become Chen Zhao's lackey? It was because he had no choice. Emohan looked up at Zhang Ding. The hatred in his eyes didn't diminish. Instead, it grew stronger. Join forces with you? Emohan didn't have any hope of that happening. If working together could solve the problem, he wouldn't have become Chen Zhao's lackey. He was someone who could suppress Celestial Master Zhang. Mohan didn't think that working with Zhang Ding would be able to change the outcome. Emohan had seen Chen Zhao's power more than once. In the massacre at Debay Island, Chen Zhao had swallowed the giant serpent. The Maoshan sect had suffered great losses. Even the Yao Ceiling Tower had been destroyed. The famous Taoist master Qing Ping had been forced to compromise. Even Zhang Tianyi couldn't stop Chen Zhao. Just him and Zhang Ding? Stop joking around. Chen Zhao was the scariest demon. Chen Zhao had only used 1 second to carry him from the 30th floor to the garage, not to mention anything else. And then Emohan vomited. Even a top-level cultivator would find it hard to withstand the pressure of that high speed. In that 1 second, Emohan could see the twists and turns of life in front of him. Zhang Ding looked at the hostile Emohan, and then at Chen Zhao. If you dare touch me, Celestial Master Zhang and the Maoshan sect won't let you go. Chen Zhao smiled. It was Zhang Tianyi who gave me your information. As for the Maoshan sect, they probably don't have the courage to protect you now. I was actually hoping that they would tell me to step over their dead bodies if I wanted to touch you, but they didn't. Emohan looked at Zhang Ding coldly. Why do you think we're here? Almost everyone who dared to save you is dead. Zhang Ding's eyelids twitched. Was it Chen Zhao who attacked the Maoshan inner sect? The Maoshan inner sect had been attacked a few times in the past. However, the Maoshan inner sect had never suffered a loss. Even the best result was a 50-50 chance. That was the Maoshan inner sect, a holy land of Taoism. Even the Celestial Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain, which was also a holy land of Taoism. As long as the Maoshan inner sect was in their territory, they would have a 50-50 chance of winning. It was more likely that the people of Longhu Mountain's Celestial Master sect had all been buried in the Mao Mountain inner sect. But now, the Mao Mountain inner sect had been breached by a single person. This was a little scary. In fact, even Zhang Ding, who stood at the pinnacle of the Wuxia supernatural world, was not one of them. They also found it hard to understand Chen Zhao's level. If it were Zhang Tianyi, even if he led all the disciples of the Celestial Master sect of Longhu Mountain, he might not be able to gain the upper hand in the Mao Mountain inner sect. Of course, I'm not either. So, you don't have to righteously criticize me here, and you don't have to defend justice. If you have to define our current behavior, it should be called dog biting dog. Chen Zhao put one hand on Secretary Qi's shoulder. So, you should go home now, take a shower, and have a good sleep. Forget everything that happened tonight. Trust me, it's good for all of us. Secretary Qi nodded. Just then, Emohan was sent flying by Zhang Ding's palm. Zhang Ding did not pursue. Instead, he turned and ran. His feet moved, and his figure flashed dozens of feet away. Spatial bending? Chen Zhao was surprised. Chen Zhao had never seen spatial bending before. But this spell was easy to distinguish. Every time Zhang Ding jumped, it seemed like he only took 1 step. But he could travel a long distance. But how could Chen Zhao allow Zhang Ding to escape? Chen Zhao punched at Zhang Ding from a distance. Chen Zhao did not use too much strength, but the punch still landed heavily on Zhang Ding's back, sending him flying forward. In the end, he crashed into a pillar. A corner of the pillar fell off. After all, Zhang Ding wasn't an enhancer. Although his physique was stronger than a normal person's, he wasn't one of them. Although his body was stronger than normal people, he still felt like his entire body had been crushed by the punch. Chen Zhao walked forward step by step, and looked at Emohan. If you're not dead, get up. Please come in. The woman had a sweet smile that was pleasing to the eye. The style of the manor was a combination of Chinese and Western. The main part was Chinese. There were mountain rocks, wind forests, small bridges, green jade in the courtyard, and plum orchid gardens. However, The wide floor-to-ceiling windows and the modern decorations inside made this place full of unique style. "Would you like to stay together, or do you need separate rooms?" the woman asked. "2 individual rooms." Chen Zhao admired the scenery along the way. The place was more like a collection of small mansions, surrounded by a huge wall. "Are all people here to rent calming jade?" Chen Zhao asked. "No. Most of them are tourists. Other than providing calming jade services, we're also a holiday village. Most of the customers here are regular tourists. It's just Chinese New Year, and there are already so many tourists? Sir, please don't use your senses here. Cultivators and regular people don't like being peeked at." "Okay. Sorry." Chen Zhao also realized that most of the guests were indeed regular people. Most of them had brought their families. "We have many rules here. The most important one is that you can't use spells in front of regular people." 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Wasn't the small heaven and earth a power exclusive to living beings? If it belonged to Chen Zhao, he would definitely break it open to see what was inside. Unfortunately, Chen Zhao wasn't its master. Even though he was itching to do so, he could only watch helplessly. Don't say that you can snatch it with your fist. There were countless people in the world with fists as big as the sea. However, the rules of this world were still intact. Because those with big fists also knew how to abide by the rules. In other words, they were a part of the rules. When Chen Zhao started meditating, he immediately felt the small world invading his body and resonating with his spiritual power. Chen Zhao frowned. He didn't like people invading his spiritual power. It was like a stranger opening someone else's computer and browsing. Chen Zhao felt like his privacy had been invaded. Even if it was just a rock, Chen Zhao would not allow it. Chen Zhao immediately retracted his spiritual power and cut off the connection with the meditation jade. The moment the connection was cut, Chen Zhao was enlightened. There seemed to be a ball of foreign spiritual power left in Chen Zhao's spiritual power. Chen Zhao was not good at spiritual power. He only knew a rather advanced hypnosis spell, Banshee's Charm. However, he still knew the basics of refining spiritual power. Chen Zhao began to refine the ball of spiritual power. Everyone had their own spiritual mark. More accurately, it should be a mark of consciousness. However, this ball of spiritual power did not have any mark. This meant that the original owner of this ball of spiritual power had no consciousness. Therefore, it was not difficult for a layman like Chen Zhao to refine this ball of spiritual power. However, this ball of spiritual power was also useless to Chen Zhao. It was tasteless to eat, but a pity to discard. Even though Chen Zhao was a layman in spiritual magic, with Chen Zhao's cultivation, his spiritual power was hundreds of times stronger than a regular cultivator's. Plus, Chen Zhao had devoured many dark creatures and soul fragments. Therefore, Chen Zhao's spiritual power had already reached an unimaginable level. Therefore, this ball of spiritual power was just a drop in the ocean to Chen Zhao. If it wasn't an external spiritual power, it would leave a flaw in his own spiritual power. Chen Zhao was not even willing to spend the effort to digest this ball of spiritual power. Chen Zhao looked at the jade disc before him. If this ball of spiritual power was produced by this jade disc, then it was undoubtedly a natural spiritual item. In that case, there was no doubt that this piece of jade was a natural spiritual object, and from the looks of it, it was about to develop spiritual intelligence. In this era, something like this was definitely a priceless treasure. Of course, Chen Zhao had also considered robbing it. However, robbing it would be too degrading. Chapter 2693. Chen Zhao stayed for less than an hour before the calming jade. Then he planned to leave. This place could indeed calm his mind. However, the price was letting a stone peek into his inner world. It would be fine if he didn't know, but since he did, Chen Zhao didn't want to continue like this. Moreover, it wasn't a regular stone. It was a stone that was about to turn into a spirit. Didn't they say that it wouldn't turn into a spirit after the country was established? Of course, this was only Chen Zhao's prediction. Who knew when this calming jade would develop intelligence? Maybe it would complete the transformation soon. But for humans, it would still be a long process. Ouch! Just then, a boy bumped into Chen Zhao's leg and fell on his butt. Chen Zhao froze. Because he wasn't far from the calming jade, his senses were still greatly affected. He didn't notice the boy's actions at all. The boy's parents hurried over. Xiaoyi, are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. Hurry and apologize to Uncle. Sorry, Uncle. The boy called Xiaoyi looked at Chen Zhao obediently. I'm sorry, Chen Zhao said, smiling. I was distracted and didn't notice you. The couple seemed to have taught their children well. It was hard to say who was right and who was wrong in the accident. However, they were brave enough to admit their mistakes. It was enough to show their values. The child's father dragged his suitcase. He wore glasses and looked thoughtful. The child's mother was quite pretty. Her makeup was mainly light and elegant. Her tone and attitude were both easygoing. Hello, Xiaoyi ran too fast just now, the mother said gently. It's okay. Kids are always noisy. If they don't, they won't be kids anymore. Are you here to travel too? Oh, right. Are you alone, sir? No. I'm here to play with my friends during Chinese New Year. The two chatted as they walked. What a coincidence. Do you live here? I'm next door. Chen Zhao's suite was next door to this family's suite. Yes, what a coincidence, but it's really not cheap here, the father complained. 2,300 a day. Chen Zhao grinned. Only 2,300 yuan? He earned 100,000 a day. You have the nerve to tell me it's expensive? I've been busy all year, Chen Zhao said, chuckling. It's rare for me to come out and play. Don't think it's too expensive. That's true. This is one of the best resorts in the country. It's expensive, but there are benefits to it. With the facilities here, it's not a loss. The father seemed to be consoling himself. Even so, he still felt pain in his heart. After all, his family wasn't very rich. Staying here for 3 days would cost a few thousand yuan. Anyone would feel uncomfortable for a while. After chatting at the door for a while, Chen Zhao and the father returned to their respective rooms. Lin, do you think we'll really be fine if we hide here with little Yi? Chapter 2694. He's checked in. Boss, what about Kunlai? Everyone didn't understand why the usually tough boss would choose to acquiesce. Couldn't even the boss deal with Kunlai? As long as he doesn't kill anyone in Jingxin Villa, you don't have to care about anything else. But this will break our rules. The rules can't be broken. The person in room 058 will naturally kick me out and deal with Kunlai. Boss, are you sure you're not mistaken? The two guests in room 058 seem ordinary. One's cultivation is about the same as mine. I can't tell how strong the other is, but his chi is dense and his gaze is sharp. He looks like a body cultivator. Yes. Remember, don't interfere in this matter. Just treat that person as an ordinary guest. Hearing this, everyone could only give up. However, they didn't understand who the guest in room 058 was. Why did he say that he could solve the problem? At the moment, Chen Zhao, who was in room 058, was sitting on the stairs connecting to the courtyard and gazing at the starry sky. However, he was still thinking about the meditation jade. It wasn't that he was still eyeing the meditation jade. It was just that the meditation jade could have a little world stronger than him. Chen Zhao had always remembered this. It didn't mean that the meditation jade was stronger than him. To be honest, the meditation jade didn't even have intelligence yet. Even if it did and became a big demon, Chen Zhao would still kill it if he needed to. What Chen Zhao cared about was the meditation jade's little world. It was a spiritual item born from nature, and had never cultivated before. However, it had an extremely powerful little world. It could be said that Chen Zhao, Zhang Tianyi, Bifla, and the 23rd Blood Mary, their little worlds added together weren't as dense as the meditation jade. How strong was the meditation jade's little world? It enveloped the entire Jingxin Villa, making it hard for everyone's senses to spread out. Heaven was the father and earth was the mother, so the little world was naturally formed from nature. Nature had endless power and was boundless. However, how small was the chance to form a little world? Chen Zhao never bought lottery tickets, because he felt that someone was behind the lottery. Any small chance was equivalent to zero. So, this meditation jade might have been born from nature. But it was definitely not a product of nature. This seemingly contradictory conclusion was actually the most consistent with the theory of cause and effect. The tranquil precious jade, which was created by man's interference with heaven and earth, allowed it to have its own little world. Perhaps the imminent awakening of the Jade of Tranquility and the development of spiritual wisdom was also the result of someone's actions. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes and started thinking again. It seemed that only Zhang Tianyi had the ability, strength, and resources to do this kind of thing.